imagine for a second, indulge me, we built a grocery store. We want to shift gears now and not talk about the construction of the building, but talk about what is taking place inside that grocery store and how it can be transformed by technology. So to explain IoT in food safety, let me invite onto stage our head of IT, Andy Rhodes. Andy.
Thanks, Jeremy. Here. You looked hungry out there, so I brought you some breakfast. I got you some yogurt.
All right, well, thank you.
Hope you like yogurt.
Let me just, I mean, I can think of an innovation in the food industry. Like, don't do that every time you open a yogurt. And Andy, this has like got all this gunk on the top.
Yeah, that's the same with my kids. Every time my kids open a yogurt at my house, they always throw it away because there's this water on top, and they think it's bad.
Yeah, I'm just going to put this down because
and in fact, it's not that the yogurt's bad; it's that it's been stored at the wrong temperature, Jeremy. So what happens is supermarkets store a lot of their food very, very cold because they want it to be safe. And so that's really what happens is the sort of squeezing of the yogurt by the cold temperatures forces the water out, and it creates that thing. Same with ice cream and the ice crystals.
Yeah, you get a crusty layer on top of the ice cream.
And the same with meat.
Now, obviously, you're really into food, but your job is not analyzing food. You're obviously looking for a technology solution. How are we going to solve this problem?
Yeah, so the main problem is that supermarkets have the ability to store temperature at sometimes 7 to 10 different sets or temperature sets, but they only use a couple. And that's often because they don't know which food is in which parts of the shelving. And so we've actually been working with one of our great software partners, a company called IMS Evolve, that are here today. And they really understand the cold supply chain in supermarkets, and they're connecting all of the sensors, the temperature sensors, in those refrigerations through our IoT gateway. And now what happens is the supermarket can understand exactly what is on the shelf and exactly which temperature they need to set, those shelves to based on those products. And so there's some great benefits and outcomes for the supermarkets. One is they don't poison their customers.
That's a great benefit.
It's a good benefit. The other is they have happier customers. They don't spill yogurt all over their jackets.
They might ruin their clothes, but
and then the third is there's some huge energy savings if you can actually raise temperatures of these refrigerators.
And this is the big win right there. I mean, give us a feeling for just how much.
Well, let's still stick with the example of retailers. If you just raise the energy of refrigeration by 1 degree C, just Fahrenheit, I'm sorry, 1 degree Fahrenheit, and let's say there's 300,000 refrigerators in the US alone in these supermarket chains, you can save a staggering 470 million kilowatts hours of electricity over that year. And that could equate to about 67,000 homes being powered over a year. So that's Jackson, Mississippi, or Fort Lauderdale, Florida. We can sort of save that amount on energy.
So obviously the grocery industry is fascinating, but I'm assuming you don't spend all of your time in the grocery industry. I mean, this is a problem in many industries.
Yeah, I like my food, Jeremy, but same with mining, same with smart agriculture, smart ag. How do you get food from the farm to the fork? Factories. All of these industries have similar problems that can be solved with IoT technologies.
Now, this obviously, just from an architectural standpoint, it creates an issue, right? Because I've got to believe all of these sensors are very different. They talk different protocols. How do we solve that problem? Because we've got to ultimately collect data from every sensor on the planet that exists in every industry.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest problems that's facing. And whether it's 30 billion, 50 billion, 100 billion, devices or things that are going to be out there by 2020, pick your number, they all speak different protocols, different languages. So the first problem is how do you connect all this stuff? How do you connect the unconnected? And the second is, if you think about backhauling all of that data from the edge of the network to the cloud, it's just too much data. So we've teamed up with the industry, companies like AMD, Analog Devices, and SAP and others, and the Linux Foundation. And the way we're going to go and solve that problem together is through a new initiative called EdgeX Foundry. And essentially what that does is it creates the ability to be able to It's a microservices architecture, creates the ability to be able to bring in through open source all of these connections, put the applications you need at the edge, and then fire off that data up to the cloud.
A new kind of sensor, somebody could build a driver for it, they could post it to the open source project, and boom, everybody gets access.
Yeah, I mean, you can imagine 30 years ago in the PC, if every time you wanted to connect a keyboard or a mouse, we charge you $1,000 for a driver, the PC industry probably wouldn't be where it is today.
And we might not be here today.
Yeah, correct.
So one other thing before you go, I noticed that every open source project has some kind of animal associated with it. EdgeX has the octopus. Give us the story behind that.
Yeah, so every open source has what's called a spirit animal, and we spend a lot of time with the Linux Foundation talking about what ours needs to be. And I love the octopus as an analogy for what's happening in IoT today in terms of the architecture. Because an octopus has its 8 tentacles, and those suckers on the tentacles represent the sensors. They're sensing the world and making sense of it, and they're bringing the data into the octopus. But actually, an octopus has 9 brains. I don't know if you knew this. It has a brain in each of those tentacles because obviously it didn't find that it could send the information to its brain and its head fast enough. And that's exactly what's happening with this architecture. It's the sensors, the edge, with the gateways, how do I process that and then send it back to the brain?
So they say that you learn something new every day. You today learned that the whole IoT architecture is actually based off of the octopus. And Andy, I guess a million years of evolution can't be wrong.
Exactly.
All right, so
Great.
Hey, give Andy a round of applause. Thank you for
Thanks.
your food safety smarts. Thank you.